Hello everyone, my name is Yula and you are watching Multicultural's Community Hour. In this segment, we are talking about civic issues in Winnipeg, Manitoba. I would like to introduce our guest Maggie Diniz-Demarchi. She is the president of the Brazilian Association in Manitoba. Hello Maggie, thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
And today we are talking about issues for Brazilians newcomers in Manitoba, services and programs offered by Brazilian Association. To begin, we need to let our audience know who you are and what you are doing. So, Maggie, could you please tell a little bit about yourself?
Well, my name is Maggie Diniz-Demarchi. I have been here in Manitoba for about 18 years now, and I know lots of people who come through here, who comes from Brazil and who comes from other countries and other provinces to settle in Manitoba. And because of my work, I really know lots of people in the community in general and in the Brazilian community. So I see myself like a liaison, a person who can connect you with the people you need to know when you need something, and that's, I think, is a great role to play when you're trying to help your community, to be able to connect them with other people. And that's basically what I do.
Okay, thank you. And how did you start your way in Canada and what challenges did you face?
Well, I moved here in a family stream, so my challenge was I had no family here. I didn't know anyone. Most people go through the same situation, independent of the country they are immigrating from. But sometimes you come and you already know some people, you have some connections. My connections was my family, my husband in the case. And so I did not have any connections with the Brazilian community. And I didn't know anyone, and I think this is the big challenge when people come, is an entire new world. You leave your life behind, you leave your family and everything that you know, and you embrace a new place, a new culture, and this in itself seems a huge challenge to overcome.
Okay, now let's talk about Brazilian Association. When the Brazilian Association was created and what was the impact for it?
The Brazilian Association Winnipeg started in 2018. We had at the moment here, at that time, we had what we call a Brazilian Council, Citizenship Council of Brazilians, which is a Brazilian institution created in connection with the Brazilian consulate and for Brazilians who are living in other countries. So we had a very good connection with the Brazilian government, this Brazilian organization called the Brazilian Council. And one of the recommendations we received from our embassy at that time was that we needed to move to another level, the next level, which would be to have this institution, which is a Canadian institution, which is the association. The association is an incorporated company with Companies Office, is a non-profit organization, and it is in the Canadian, is organized according to Canadian law, right? So it's a Brazilian association, but it's a Canadian institution following all the rules that we need to follow here in Canada. And it was a recommendation that if we had this organization, we would be able to serve the community in other ways beyond what the Brazilian Council could do, right? So now we have the Brazilian Association, the Brazilian Council, and an honorary Council of Brazil in Winnipeg, in Manitoba. So these are organizations to serve the community, and our role is really to help the community to find the things they need and to get them together, give them opportunities to connect with each other, and for various reasons that we can discuss. and also to create opportunities to promote Brazilian culture, to preserve our identity, cultural identity, to help, for example, the youth and the children of Brazilian families who are raised here, that they can continue that connection with our language, our dance, our music, our culture in general. And the other thing that I think is a great impact is we try to help the Brazilians who are trying to start their business here with things that are connected with our culture, right? So we try to create opportunities for those people as well. So there are quite a bit of things that we try to do with our community. It's a small process, it's a slow process, it's a long process, but we just try to never give up, and we'll know that we are making a difference for a few people.
Okay, thank you. And it's estimated that there are more than 5,000 Brazilians living in the capital of Manitoba. What do you think is the main reason that attracts Brazilians to Winnipeg?
Well, you will be surprised. I would say the weather. And people would say, well, how can it be? We are so cold, and Brazil is such a warm country. I come from the northeast coast of Brazil, Recife. One of the characteristics of the place where I come from is sunny days and blue sky. And that's what Manitoba offers, more than any other place in Canada. I lived in Toronto for years, and I know Canada from coast to coast. I spent a lot of time in New Brunswick, right, and all the way to Vancouver, right? I know this country, and I'm telling you, nowhere where I spent a lot of time, I had enjoyed the sunny and blue skies that Manitoba has. So, yes, we are cold. We have a very cold winter, but it's a dry winter, a dry cold, so you dress for it, so it helps. So I always start by the weather, because coming from the northeast of Brazil, the sun is fundamental for my well-being. So I really think that many people like this portion of Manitoba, but this may not be the main attraction for most people. We have a stable job market here. The economy in Manitoba is diversified and is stable, so you will always find a job here. Another important thing is it is not a big city. I say, is it a small big city, or is a big small city? It's big enough, and it's not huge, right? You have everything of a big city, but it's not huge. I remember when I came to visit Manitoba and Winnipeg for the first time, I was really impressed by the traffic, because I came in June, so the university was not on, right? Vacation, there was not so many people in the city, and I was coming from Toronto, so I thought, whoa, there is no traffic jumps, there is no traffic delay, so I was in love at the first sight when I visited Winnipeg. Of course, we know that when the school is on, like October, September, we see much more traffic. You can get stuck on Kenneth, you can get stuck at Large Monier, but it's still, you will have a 10 minutes delay, not 2 hours delay, like when you are doing anything in Toronto and in the 401. So for me, this thing was important, but a lot of people from Brazil who stay here, they stay here because of the size of the city. They don't want to be in a big center, like people come from São Paulo, the big city, and they want a smaller place, more manageable, right? So this is another aspect. So I talk about the weather, the sun, right? The job market, the
Size of
size of the city. Another thing that I believe attracts lots of Brazilians is the cultural diversity. Brazil is very cultural diverse. So you come here and you feel like home. You have people from everywhere. People accept you, so you feel like home. Manitoba is very friendly. Brazil, in general, Brazilians are very friendly. They like partying, they like having their friends, and that's why we call friendly Manitoba, right? So this is another characteristic that people feel here. It's quite different from the west or east in Canada. Here people are really more friendly. Only once you experience, you will be able to really notice this, but this is an important difference. So these are some of the things, and I could point a few more, but I think that these are important things that keep people, attracts people from Brazil here. Of course, one more that I would add is safety. In general, it is very safe here. I know people complain, we are hearing a lot about an increase in violence in Winnipeg, increase in gang activity, etc. It's true. It is very, for Canada maybe we consider this a high level of insecurity, but when you compare to Brazil, this is heaven. When I hear about the number of homicides in Winnipeg, oh, it's huge. Well, it's a weekend in my town, so you know what I mean. So safety is important when we compare to back home, and it has been a concern for many Brazilians because we hear in the news a lot of things about the increase in violence in Winnipeg, but it's still, safety is one of the reasons why people come to Canada and want to live here.
Thank you. And how many newcomers reach you every year? Has this number increased in recent year, or does it go down?
I couldn't be precise in the number specifically, but we have a steady number of people always looking for coming here. We see that they are arriving. They don't necessarily look for us, but we see their activities in our Facebook pages, in our WhatsApp groups, lots of people coming in all the time, right? And there are lots of people who go as well to other provinces after they are here for some time, but we see a lot of people coming, like it's constant, especially when it's closer to September, because lots of people come here to study, or they first immigrate as a student, right? So during this time, close to September, you see more the activity, people looking for places to live, people seeking for information about where to go, and seeking for, this is what people look for more here, information about how to get a driver's license, the basic information. And when it's closer to September, we see the number of these inquiries increasing. I couldn't be precise on the exact number, but yeah, it's steady. We always see people coming through.
Okay, and now let's talk about the Brazilian Association. What programs and activities you have to help Brazilians to adapt to their new life in Canada?
We try to make events, to have events to connect them. One thing that I find that is fascinating, when you put two people together, two groups of people together, the ones who are just arriving, know nothing, or are in that stage of awe, they are in awe, they just arrived, they are so in love with being here, everything is so different, so nice, so beautiful, so special. And then you have another group of people who are struggling. They are here for some time, things are not going the way they want, or the way they expected. And then we have another group of people who have passed through these two stages and are more settled, right? So we put these people, these three groups of people together, and they leave that space with a new perspective. The one who are still in love and are so excited, everything is beautiful, they may encounter that maybe that will change. Maybe they will go through challenges because they are meeting people going through challenges. So help them to prepare a little bit, so when they get through the challenges, the impact is not so big, right? And then you get the people who are going through challenges and leave that activity, that party, that meeting feeling that there is a light at the end of the tunnel because somebody just went through this. So I think one of the main helps that we provide is putting together opportunities for these people to meet and one to help the other. Networking is fundamental for people to adapt because you are here, nobody knows you, right? So once you start networking and connecting to people, you start having friends, references, right? People who may help you to get a job, people who may help you to get the thing that you need here, right? So, so the opportunity for people to network is very important. Now, one of the main challenges that people have here, and I hope you can have another person to speak specifically about that soon, is to get a spot in their career, to restart here in the career they had before they come, right? So this is difficult. This is a challenge for most people. So we do have a person in our community that runs a program specific for that. It's like a career counseling kind of thing, like career advisory. So we have a few volunteers who are specialized on those things in helping you to with the development of your career, and they help people in this specific area. Sometimes you don't realize that your resume has a problem. People will not call you for an interview because the resume is not set the way that people expect here. So the first basic information and help that you could get in this area, we have volunteers that can help people with that. And sometimes you are between jobs and you are stuck somewhere and you need somebody to help you to revamp your resume a little bit. So help people volunteering who can help with that as well. Give a little piece of advice. So, and I think that this is the programs that I think are more important for our community. I think not a program, the opportunity to get them connected, to get them to get their first step on networking here, that we try to provide that. And I think this is a fundamental, simple, but fundamental to help people to go ahead and to adapt here. And it's not only because of employment. It's not only because those people will help them to find a job. We have a very long winter. And the winter is cold. People in general are a little bit colder than people back home, right? So we know that the lack of sun can set some sadness into people's life, right? Some depression can come there. It is fundamental that people have friends and support around them to go through the winter time. The first winter, the second winter, in my case, has been 18 winters so far, and I still think that it's very important, especially in the winter, that you have support of other people, because it can be depressing.
What advice can you tell other newcomers, Brazilian, who have their new first winter in Manitoba? How to prepare for the first winter here?
Embrace it. I think the best piece of advice that one person can get in terms of preparing for the winter is learn to love it. Because you have the option to stack yourself inside of the house and repeat to yourself how cold it is outside, right? We have the advantage of a sunny, cold winter, right? And as sunny as worse, I guess, because it gets much colder, but it's beautiful. So buckle up, put all the clothes that you can get, all the layers that you can get, jump in the snow, go walk in the river, right? Learn to skate, learn cross-country ski. I remember in Toronto, I had to drive 1, 2, 3 hours to do a good cross-country. Here, we do cross-country like in any park in the city. So, wow, it is so much better, it's so much easy. Anybody can do it. You can go to the park close to your home and do it. Learn to embrace the weather. Learn to skate, to go out, to play with the snow, because if you get one activity that you love, you will forget about it. You won't feel so much pain with the winter. There are so many beautiful things to see. Go to the forks, look at those hoods they put out there. Find activities to do in enclosed places like the escape rooms. You know, one thing that I always did before the new lift at the Assiniboine Park being built, there was an old greenhouse there. In a very, very, very cold week, I would make sure I would spend some time there inside of that beautiful forest they had there. And I mean, I will feel it's so cold outside, but I'm inside the Amazon, inside of a big forest here, and I just enjoy there the smell, the noises, the leaves, and it was so wonderful for me. So find some spot that you can go when you are going down the tubes in the winter, and find something to give you joy. Because if not, if you just spend the whole 6 months watching Netflix, you'll be depressed.
Yeah. And what is your favorite winter activities?
Well, we like taking our dogs to walk in the river over snow. It's fun because it's so empty and they run like, I would be scared if they would do that. They would try to do that in the summer, but in the winter, yeah, I love doing that. Taking them to run in the snow in the river is really fun. And of course, I hope now that when the leaf gets ready, I will be able to enjoy a nice greenhouse there. And that was one of my favorite things to do before they demolished the old one. So I'm looking forward to go there the end of this year. They will be ready, I guess.
Okay, thank you. And most recently, you celebrated the anniversary of the independence of Brazil and held several events on this occasion to build community and increase awareness of Brazilian culture. So can you tell us the details?
Well, we had a few interesting things happening during the Brazilian Independence Week, which was on September the 7th. We had at the beer can, the bar downtown, Brazilian nights with music and dance. And we are hoping next year we will have several Brazilian nights at the beer can because we really loved it. And we had different artists playing. Brazilian music is really nice. People really like that. The other thing that we had was a meeting with the police service, Winnipeg Police Service. They did a seminar for us about dealing with the police here. What is the job of the police in the community? How you should act if you are approached by the police. And I think it's very important because it is different from back home to here, how you approach the police, right? And sometimes police in some areas of our country, they don't have that much respect from the people. Like in here, we learned that the police really exist to protect, and they are part of the community, and we learn a lot about how to act, how we should do if we are approached by the police, and how we should do if we have any issues with the police. So it was really, we appreciated the time they spent with us, explaining things, how things work, and it was really good. I recommend every community should have that with the police, a meeting when the police come to your community, talk to the people in your community, present themselves as normal human beings that are here to help us, and that they deserve our respect, and they will treat us accordingly, right? Another thing that we did was a picnic in the park. We had activities for the kids. We had soccer. We have a Brazilian soccer team, female soccer team, and we are joining a league this year, and we are playing, and we played there, and it was good as well. We had a few people, a few families, and again, opportunity for the community to gather and to meet. And we do a few of those gatherings every year, right? We do normally in the summer, in June, celebrating the harvest in Brazil. So it's a festa junina, we call the June party. And we want to do something in the beginning of the winter, like more close to Carnival, right? And we always try to get staff to have the community together. And in September 7th is always a special occasion because it's the independence. Now, this Sunday, the 2nd of October, is Brazilian elections. So they are voting for a new president in Brazil. They are also voting for governors and other politicians. But outside of Brazil, we can only vote for the president. So we have the opportunity to vote here in Winnipeg. We have around 600 people registered as a voter from Brazil here in Winnipeg. When we did this the first time 4 years ago, we had around 120 voters, citizens voting here. And now, 4 years later, we have 600. So it's a huge increase. At that time, I remember we needed to have maybe 50% of people voting. And because we had way more than that, we were granted the right to continue voting here instead of going to Toronto, as was the case before. So we hope 4 years from now, we have double the number, maybe 1,200 people
sure.
voting. So it's a very important thing. If you are living here, an important way for you to show that you are serious about settling here is to change in your voting rights, to vote right here in Manitoba. It helps us to show that we have a strong community and help the Brazilians who are here, so they don't have to justify why they didn't vote, because in Brazil it is mandatory. Everybody has to vote. So it is beautiful that we can do this right here. So Sunday, I am going to vote for Brazilian president right here in Winnipeg. I'm very glad that through the effort of a community, through the effort of volunteers, we managed to do this here today, right? Some years ago, we had nothing, and now we have even the right to vote. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, it's perfect. And in your opinion, how important is it to preserve Brazilian culture while living in Canada?
I think it's fundamental, because we never stop being who we are, right? And in my opinion, it's important that we absorb a lot of the Canadian culture. There are so many wonderful things here, but we can share the good things that we have from back home right here with our Canadian friends, right? So I love being in a country that respects and accepts my culture. And there are so many beautiful things there to share. But more important than for me is for my children, right? For our children, who may be, some of them born there, but raised here. They have all their family background. Their grandparents are there. Their aunts and uncles are there. The cousins are there, right? And they may lose their language. They may lose their interest for the food if this is not shared and preserved here, right? So I have a personal belief that the Brazilians raised outside of the country can go back to make Brazil a better country, because there are so many things that we can do better there, right? And
For example, what other things?
More the respect for the other people, right? We respect so much better life of others, the different people, here in Canada than in Brazil. In Brazil, we have a very strong social stratification. We have a big separation from the poor to the rich that we don't see so much in Canada, right? So some of this value of every life matters, we can strengthen that concept in Brazil. Honesty, right? There are so much corruption in our daily life in Brazil that becomes natural. And this is terrible, right? So there are so many positive things that we can take back there to influence others. And we can bring here our dance, our music, our culinary, our language. We have so much to give, right? And we don't want the next generations of the second generation, third generation Brazilian Canadian to lose that. We want them to be able to still love dance the samba or forró or frevo, our dances, the capoeira, right? We want them to be able to love that, right? To eat our feijoada, right? We want them to grow up knowing this is from my back home. This is what my grandparents used to like, and I like it too, you know? And we can build that here as a community and preserve that for our children, for the next generations of Canadian-raised Brazilians.
Okay. What are the basic needs of newcomers Brazilians?
The basic needs, I think, is similar to others, right? I think the issues of the immigrant community are very horizontal. They really go across all the other communities that come here. Depends upon how you come. You may have different problems. Setting yourself professionally certainly is one of the big challenges in any of the communities, and it's not different for Brazilians. There are a few characteristics of the Brazilian community that may be slightly different from others. Brazilians come here highly educated. Mm-hmm. They are very successful professionals back home, mm-hmm. right? And they would like to have the opportunity to be that here as well. Some get that faster, right? Some take a little longer. For example, what I hear a lot of struggling in the community is we were recruited to come to Canada because of our professional skills. But when we get here, we cannot use those professional skills. Mm-hmm. Why did they recruit us, right? In general, you have two people coming, couples, right? So sometimes they approve the family because they skill of both. But they are inviting one to come as an employee. In general, people in the technology field. That is very common in our community. I'm sure it's common in other communities. Yeah. So you have a husband, one spouse, could be husband or wife, one spouse who is a developer, is in the technology field. Very easy to get the job, very easy to be here, very easy to do the immigration process. But they have a spouse who is a very successful lawyer, physician, physiotherapist, whatever other special, good, great professional out there. But they came because of the technology person. Mm-hmm. And the other person automatically becomes a stay-home spouse because you have all these 20 years of experience doing fantastically what you know how to do, but you can't be absorbed in the marketplace. You can do nothing. So I have some friends who are physicians, for example, and they try to even volunteer here, and they couldn't. And after some years, and some of the spouses had very high positions in their field in technology, and they just quit, and they said, we can't, because one of us will be forever unhappy here, because they love us because we are highly educated, we are very successful, but then we come here to do nothing because there are so many barriers to overcome. So I think that this is common in our community and it's common in many other communities, right? And I have seen in different communities as well from different countries that I worked sometime in an organization who dealt with newcomers, and I saw that a lot, especially people in the health sciences, in the health field. They get here and they have so much to give, and we know our society needs so much. Like, you want to see a specialist, you're going to be in line up waiting for a long time. And we have these wonderful professionals that they just can't become a doctor here. It's so hard, right? So, hey, one day will change.
So you have lived in Canada for over 20 years. I should suppose that you have faced a lot of challenges. Based on your experience, what advice would you give to newcomer Brazilians to overcome these barriers?
I think the first thing is to be positive. I see sometimes, I have observed different people arrive here in the exact same condition. One goes up to go up the ladder very fast. They have challenges, both have the same challenge. One goes so much faster and overcome, and the other one seems to be stuck. When I observe both, what I note is attitude. Attitude is 90% of the job, right? Your attitude tells a lot about you. And the soft skills in general, attitude being one of them, right? Be positive. Sometimes people come here very qualified, but they don't have the soft skills, right? Problem solving, working independently, right? Communication is more than know how to learn how to speak in English. Communication is way beyond the English grammar thing, right? Learn to relate to people. So if you are planning on coming, I would say save a lot of money and learn English. Focus on the English. English will open the channel for your success here, right? Sometimes I taught a program for newcomers many years ago here, and I used to do a joke with the newcomers. They had interpreters, some of them had interpreters. Many of them were refugees, right? But I remember I used to make this joke. If I had a medicine for you to take that would help you here, right? That would make you successful faster, but would be a very bitter medicine, would you take? Most people would say yes. It doesn't matter how bad, how hot, how bitter, I would take it. And then I would review to them, just turn off the cable TV from back home. Stop talking your language. Speak English. Set up a day. Friday is my language speaking day. That day you speak your language morning to evening. But every other day, speak English. Cut that cable TV from back home. Most people, you can speak your language anytime. You just put the TV in your language, you can buy a cable and you have that. And people from Brazil, they do it a lot. They are here, but they are watching global TV. They're watching Brazilian soap opera, right? I mean, I'm telling you, I love it too. I understand. Your whole family is there. You want to know what's going on. But if you want to be successful here and go ahead here faster, English is your first job. You have to master this language, right? In 20 years, like, I have been here for 22 years. I think my English sucks, actually, right? I think I can do so much better, right? Especially when I speak a lot with people in Portuguese. After that, I am confused. I am mixing. I create words, right? But it has been 22 years. I think better in English than in Portuguese right now. So I get mixed up when I'm speaking. If somebody speaks Portuguese with me, I will change automatically the language I'm talking, right? But I am here for 22 years. I think I mastered this already. But if you are here, you are coming here, you are arriving here, do yourself a favor. Learn to speak English. And after you master, then go back to watching the Brazilian soap opera. But do yourself a favor for now. help yourself. Now, I understand some people have children. They need their children to speak Portuguese. So at home, they need to speak Portuguese with their children. It's very important. But once the kids are at school, try to speak English even with your partner. Even any person from any other idiom should do the same thing, because English is your door to success. So this is my number one piece of advice. Master the English language, because you want to be successful here, and if you don't do that, you will have more challenges. And don't let English be a barrier. Like things that I'm talking, two things here. If you are not comfortable or confident, it doesn't matter. Go to the job interview. Put your face out there. Speak the best that you can. If you have your skills, people will see your skills and see your ability, and they will help you with the language. But you have to show you are making an effort, right? So English, number one thing you need to focus, is my number one piece of advice.
Is there any other way to learn English except of speaking?
Of course, there are many free courses actually, right? Even like if you go to that Meetup app and you look for groups to speak English, there are groups that you pay $3 because you go to a bar or something and you gather with other people just to speak. And then you find mentors, right? And you volunteer, join a club, find people who want to speak English with you. You will find those people. They are all over. Canadians are so friendly on that, and they are so understanding of the language barrier. They admire that you are trying, because most of them, do you know what they think? Oh, I can barely speak English. So if you are trying to speak English and you're not your first language, they are already admiring you. So it doesn't feel, you shouldn't feel bad that your English is not perfect. May will never be perfect, but don't stop speaking, right? And get help. There are many people willing to help you out there.
Okay, thank you. Let's return to the discussion about organization. I see Brazilian Association is working on many projects, events and services, and I'm sure that all this would not have been possible without a great work of volunteers. So how many volunteers are willing to donate their time to help their countrymen?
We have at least about 20 active volunteers. And we have people who come and go, and they sometimes volunteer for a specific project, for a specific thing, and then after that finish they go, and then when we have another event they come. Like sometimes we have events that we need like 10, 15, and they just show up and they put their name and put their time. So of course, we would love to have some more specific people who would stay for a long time and like take over and run the organization, and that sometimes is more difficult because like people have families, right? Mm-hmm. They have jobs, they have children, so sometimes the time availability is not there. But we do have a large number of people. We wouldn't be able to do anything without the volunteers. Like everything that we do, we can only do because of a good number of people helping. And there are those who dedicate like time and money. Whatever we need, they are there to help. And it's like without these volunteers, we wouldn't be able to do anything actually.
What volunteers opportunities do you currently have and how to apply?
Well, we would like to create a new board of directors for our association. So we are in touch with some people now, and we are going to be advertising a little bit later. But we need specifically people in technology, people who can run website. Our website is out of the air now. We are working on that. We will need people with the skills to manage those things, right? We need people with strategic planning skills. so they can help us to really see our organization 5-10 years from now. We need people who in administration who can really organize, take over, put everything in place, right? We need people with financing skills to really run the finances of the organization, right? And have the reports hours on time. We are up to date now, but we always run a little behind on those things. We need people who have skills to write for grants. We did apply for a grant recently, but was kind of a very simple request because we need people who are more skilled to do those kind of things and have the time to dedicate to that. So we have a lot of options. If people want to help, just contact us and we will find something for you to do. And of course, when we do the events, we always have people coming to organize everything. But we need people who are committed for at least 3 years of service running the organization. It's time for me to retire for good. I will always be here to help. But we want to have these people coming and going and knowing that we'll have a good group of people, and when some of them leave, others will stay and have this recycling continuing. Because the organization exists and doesn't have to die. They have to stay here. And we hope there will be our people who are willing to take it over and make it happen.
Okay, and my last question will be about your future plans and projects to strengthen the Brazilian community.
Well, we have a few things that we want to do. We are signing up with Folklorama now. So we hope that in 1 or 2 years, because it's their requirement, we will be able to have a Folklorama that is really run by the community, for the community. We have lots of people who are Brazilian who produce stuff here, and they can have their stuff there in the Folklorama, right? And we would like to have a Folklorama show that shows the different regions of Brazil. And you know, we were thinking about it. If we don't have Brazilians that can do what we do in the south of Brazil, the German can do, because it's the Germans who do all the culture in Brazil. South Brazil are mostly German, right? So if we don't have somebody to do some part of the culture from a different part of the country, we have here in Manitoba a country that has the exact same culture that we have somewhere, one of the regions of Brazil. So we can do it. We can have our community. We can have our community representing the different regions of Brazil where they come from, and have a simple pavilion, but all made with the community. That's one thing. The other thing that we were talking about, even today about it, with one of our community members, is to have at least one school in the Winnipeg School Division that has Brazilian Portuguese as a second language. You know, some schools you can have a choice to study Spanish at school, the same way that you can study French at school. We would like to have the Portuguese as one option at the school division. So this is another big project that requires connection, political connections. And so this is the level that we are going now, and we need more people in the community that spot, yes, I can help with that. Yes, this is something that I have a passion about and I can help with, right? So these are two small things that I am seeing for the future that we can do, and we just need to find the right people to help with that. And we are planning an event for the end of the year, right? So our next big event, and we hope to have a party that we can gather around 200 people. If we find a bigger place, could be more. But again, opportunity to connect, to do a celebration for the end of the year, and connecting the families and the children. And so this is a big one. If we could do a smaller one, maybe we do something for Halloween next month, but it will depend upon the families and what they want. And most of the time we try to operate this way. If the community wants our support, they come to us and tell what they want, right? It's sometimes difficult try to do things for the people who don't want you to do the thing for them, because there will be no engagement, right? So sometimes they look for us and say, we want to do such and such thing, can we help? Then the association can put its resources and connections to make that thing happen for the community. It's a slow process. We just will continue trying until we make it happen.
So with that, we are going to conclude today's discussion. Thank you, Maggie. It has been an absolute pleasure talking with you today.
My pleasure.
And thanks to our audience for joining us today. We hope you enjoy it. If you like the episode, please like, share, and subscribe to see our upcoming episodes.